In 1939, a city vanished. Not overnight, not in catastrophe, it was simply forgotten, its name erased from records, its stones buried under 300–400 years of sand and silence. No one was looking for it, no one even remembered it existed. Until 2024, when satellite imaging revealed what lay beneath the desert floor of the Nile Delta. And what rose into the light was not what anyone expected. The Nile Delta contains the archaeological remains of roughly 40 major cities from the New Kingdom period. Most were never fully mapped, most were never fully excavated. But this one had disappeared so completely that Egyptologists were not sure if it had ever been real at all. The city covered an area equivalent to roughly 800 football fields. That is the size of Manhattan's entire lower island. Buried, invisible, present only as a void in the official historical record. The excavation began in the spring of 2023. What emerged from the sand was not a ruin. Ruins are what's left when something dies. This was different. This was a city that had been preserved. The streets still held the geometry of intention. The walls still stood at the angles they were raised. The carved hieroglyphs still faced toward the cardinal directions with the precision of something that had been planned not in decades, but in centuries. And then, something in the dig shifted the entire frame of the discovery. Standing at the site in the last 40 minutes of desert daylight, one of the lead archaeologists ran his hand across a carved stone face, a sphinx, though smaller than the famous one at Giza, positioned on what had been the city's main processional way. The late sun hit the carving at an angle so specific, so perfectly calibrated to the height of the stone and the depth of the cut, that the shadow inside each hieroglyph became darker than shadow, became almost black, became something that seemed to glow from the stone itself. The hair on the back of his neck stood up, not because he was afraid, because something in his body recognized what his mind had not yet named. The city was not built for the sand, the city was built for the light. The city was built for this exact angle of sun, this exact hour, this exact shadow, and it had been waiting. The orientation of the city's major structures, the temple, the processional way, the residential districts, align not to magnetic north but to the heliacal rising of Sirius, the star the ancient Egyptians called Sothis, the same star that marked the annual flooding of the Nile. The same star that organized their entire calendar, their entire sense of time. The builders had oriented their city not to the ground beneath their feet, but to the sky above their heads. They had built not for permanence in space, but for precision in time. They had built for a moment that would come again and again, every night, every year, every 1,000 years, the moment when the light hit the stone the way it was cut to receive it. That moment was still coming. It came every evening. It had been coming for 300–400 years without witness. And then suddenly there was someone standing in it. The temperature in the air seemed to shift, not the actual temperature, the felt temperature. The recognition that something you have carried your entire life as a suspicion had just become evidence. The suspicion that the people who lived before you knew something about presence, about attention, about orientation to forces larger than themselves that we have lost, that we no longer know how to build into, that we have forgotten how to listen for. The city's name was Jarmut. The excavation records translate it as the Twin Mouths, a reference to the two branches of the Nile that framed the delta in that era. But the more the archaeologists studied the layout, the more they began to question if that translation held. The city was not positioned to maximize trade along the river. It was positioned to maximize something else, positioned to observe, positioned to measure, positioned to know. They found astronomical markers carved into the stone of what had been a central plaza. They found a structure that could only be described as an observatory, though not built with instruments, built with the stone itself. The entire city was an instrument. The entire city was a question asked of the sky, and the stone was waiting for the sky to answer. And this is where the official story breaks. This is where the second argument becomes visible. The Lost in Lost City contains an assumption that something can be lost only if someone was looking for it, only if it mattered enough to be missed, only if its absence created a void in the collective memory. But what if the city was never lost? What if we were? What if the 3,000 years between the city's abandonment and its rediscovery was not a span of time, but a span of forgetting, not of the city, but of what the city knew, not of where it was, but of what it was asking? The abandonment appears to have been deliberate. There is no evidence of catastrophe, no collapsed walls, no signs of fire or violence. The city seems to have been emptied slowly, intentionally, perhaps as the cult that maintained the astronomical observations shifted its location or merged with another center of power. The people left, the stone remained, and the stone kept its vigil. For 300–400 years the city waited in the sand. The sun rose and fell. The stars wheeled overhead in their prescribed arcs. The Nile flooded and receded. And the carved faces of sphinxes, invisible beneath the desert, held the shadow angles they had been cut to hold, waiting for the moment when someone would stand in that light and feel the temperature shift in their sternum before their eyes could focus. That moment is now, and it changes everything about what we thought we knew about the relationship between the people of the ancient world and the cosmos they inhabited. Because this was not a city built for the present moment. This was a city built for a future moment, a moment 300-400 years ahead, when the right person would stand in the right light and recognize what had been preserved. This was a message in stone. This was a question asked across millennia, and we have only just begun to read the answer. The excavation continues. New chambers are being cleared. New surfaces are being exposed to light for the first time in more than 1,000 years. And with each exposed surface, the same pattern emerges: intention, precision, orientation towards something beyond the human scale. The city was not built to last, it was built to be found. And now that it has been found, the real question begins: not what was lost, but what are we supposed to remember? That is the question the stone is still asking, and the stone, unlike us, is patient. The stone has time, the stone has always had time. The stone has been waiting for us to catch up to the moment it was designed for, the moment when we would stand in the light and finally understand. We are standing in that light now, and something inside us, something ancient and ancestral, something that remembers what it means to be oriented toward the stars, recognizes what the stone has been saying all along. We have not found a lost city. We have found ourselves waiting in the dark for the light that was always meant to reach us.